Crafty Babe crew. It's Andrea. Welcome to June. I'm excited to share some clustering and layering with you guys. We did a vote in the Facebook group, and I'm going to take you through this little mini that I started a long time ago, all about a trip to a gorgeous stationery store in LA called Shorthand. And I assembled the photos and cards that I wanted to use along with these. I trimmed some 4x6 manila dividers with tabs and cut them down to 3x4. And now we are going to decorate it together. And I thought it would be a really great way to show you some different types of clustering and layering. I am mostly going to use labels, tickets, florals, those kinds of things, because they are my go-tos. They are the things that I really, really love to use the most. So that's what we're gonna focus on. So here I'm going to use this small floral piece. This is a Reset Girl piece, along with a ticket and a little date card from Carrie Bradford. She has these new printables called Today's the Day. I think that's what they're called. They are in her shop as a digital purchase. They are really, really super fun. And it's so funny. When I get started here, you'll see me like move a bunch of stuff around. And while that looks very cute, I ended up going back to what I originally did, because really those two things don't have anything to rest on. And I like having labels be kind of like a foundation. So this is the way that we're gonna end up here. I like to do, when I cluster, I like to make things a little bit offset. So I'll tilt one thing, tilt another thing, and I'm getting better at not being so, set on, certain parts of the ticket or the tab showing. I'm trying to just be a little better about just trying to find out what colors need to be sticking out. And that has helped a lot with just making it feel natural instead of making sure that certain words are showing, if that makes sense. So now we'll just glue that down, and then I'm going to staple those two things together. And yeah, I've just stapled them right onto the manila card, because I was able to still cover it up a little bit with the patch on the other side. I wasn't really worried about it too much. And then I'm going to go sew right there. It didn't focus. I'm sorry. It moved a little too fast for us. But as you can see, I did a little stitch right across the top tab just to add a little bit of texture. And then here we're going to, I'm just going to figure out kind of what I can do on this top card that might match and coordinate with the bottom photo. And I'm going to scooch it up. I'm going to scooch it up a little bit. It was, what I really wanted to do was also share with you the supplies that I was using. So, I end up kind of realizing that some of the things that, we're working on are not always in frame, but always what I'm working on is just maybe not the photo underneath. I get smart and I move the stuff up just a little bit as we continue on. But I really wanted to use this Rolodex card. I really, really, really wanted to use it. I tried many ways. And I also wanted to use this art start. Allie Scraps, she makes art starts for the magazine, as you guys know. And this one just fit really well as far as the size and as far as the colors, because you can't see in the photo just yet, but the store Shorthand is color coordinated and it's so pretty. And the colors that are standing out mostly on that picture are pinks and blues. So what I'm doing is I'm just layering two different sized labels on top of one another and putting it right there on top of the art start. That way it acts as a background. The blue in the lines acts as another type of background, and then just stapling the two pieces together kind of just adds a little bit more texture. And then I will add a couple of stamped elements. This is layering two labels, even when they're the same size, is such a go-to element, a way to cluster for me. it automatically pops a couple of pieces of color on there and gives you a place for journaling or adding a word strip or a stamp like that. It provides a little bit of a foundation. I actually decided not to use that Rolodex as that top card. It's just going to be an individual piece within this little mini album. So now we are going to do an actual layer for this for this card. I am so excited to use these girl faces. They come from Paper Pippi and they're so cute. And I thought that her hair went great with that orange peachy color. And I really wanted to use that striped card. So I popped a circle out of it. And I just punched around the places that had the colors that I needed. You could easily punch down at the bottom and get a completely different looking circle. So that's something that I like to do also, is punch out my own circles so I can have them for later. So I decided to do a couple of the tickets there, and then I'm going to pop her face off on a foam dot so that it adds a little bit of shadow down there. And then originally I was going to leave that circle full and complete because, you know, you've got some tabs hanging off the top of some of these, but it was too big and it just didn't look right. So I end up trimming it. But before I do that, I just wanted to add the little lovely day word strip there, and I stapled it down on one side. I did glue the other side so it didn't go all over the place. Now we have this card from In a Creative Bubble. She had a whole entire stationery set that I knew was just so perfect for these photos. And so I've got a lot of her stuff as the foundations for these cards. Now I'm taking a piece of pattern paper and I'm going to use it as the base. In the end, I regret having glued it originally, but we work around it. Everything's fixable, or you just make a different decision. So it's just one of those, I think they call it topography. It's like the top of the graph, top of the map. I don't know. Anyway, what I want to do is use some fabric. So a fabric sewn to a tag. So this is where I regret having adhered it, because I really wanted to sew the card to the tag to the fabric. But now what I'm going to do is off camera here, I am sewing the tag or the ticket to the fabric itself. And then I'll just glue and adhere that right onto the card itself. So that is a really fun trick that I've learned. I've seen Shauna Noel do that so many times, and I love just fussing with the fabric and just kind of scooching it in there as the foot goes along the stitching. It's really, really a fun, messy way to just get some fabric and texture there. Now I am going to add some florals here. This is going to turn out to be a really colorful card, but the floral I picked specifically because it had that right color blue from the pattern paper above, along with some, like, the leaves that are in this particular floral cluster are a bit more on the gray side. So I thought it worked really well with that strip of fabric. And then I'm going to cut this little girl out because she's got the cutest little blue dress on. And there are parts of the card that I'm actually going to white out so that it's not as distracting. And the white doesn't match perfectly to the color of the cardstock, but it does not bother me at all. You can't even tell. And it's really not something that anybody's going to care about. But it helps to kind of clean up the card and not have to compete against some of the things that I wasn't going to use. And I do it again here at the bottom. I'm using the label there to kind of act as a foundation or a base. And then just her little feet are going to hang right there underneath or on top. And then underneath is going to be this floral. So the florals that are printed on clear sticker paper show through that little grid so you don't lose the grid section, the grid element. And then you've got this nice little cluster there. I'm going to add another grid with this washi tape, but I end up trimming it, and I'm just going to do a really small strip underneath that little list box. And then I'm going to add a stamp. And even though things aren't always layering, the clustering part is kind of like making an entire element out of a bunch of different things. So the cluster, the washi, the stamp, it all works together to make one kind of single element. And then of course I had to mark off all of those things. And I am going to use another piece of washi that I just felt like added just a little bit more. This is going to be a really, really fun page. It's not so much layering or clustering, but I felt very strongly about wanting to do this, that I just did it anyway because I figured you guys would like it. Now I was going to do this stacked, and then I was like, it just doesn't feel right with the overlapping. And then I was like, let's go. Did you see my little thumbs up there? So really excited about this. And I love, being able to kind of stagger them. They're not all straight, and, it's okay. These letters worked really well with certain parts of the elements hanging off the edges, because really you can still absolutely tell what it is. You don't lose anything by having certain parts hanging off the edges. You've got the dot from the eye. You've got the serifs from the ends of the fonts, and it's just fun. So now I'm going to grab some washi from that washi stack. So these washi stacks in the picture over there are all from Susanna. They're all from Made in Mojave. Those are the washi sets that I got to dig through when we went to her house after we went to the stationery store, and I got to raid her washi stash. So I'm using a couple of pieces from that washi stash to make this card. And I just trimmed off the left side of that first washi piece and then moved it over to the bottom and just lined up that, I guess it's a mitered edge, I guess, the cutoff edge. And then I just added a couple lines with my pencil and am doing some journaling. Pretty easy. No layering, no clustering, but it's part of the project, so y'all get to see it. Then there's the Stationery Addict little card with a bunch of cute, colorful elements, and I really just kind of wanted a girl who looked like she would have so much fun at a stationery store. Like, she just looked like the kind of girl that would be like, I love notebooks and note paper and colorful pens and sticky notes. So I also grabbed this cutout piece from, this is Pink Fresh Studio, and their, I think it's Life Noted. I am so bad at the names of company collections. It's like a working set. It's like all about working hard and 9 to 5 and having a creative job and kind of like office hours. That's what it was. So I just trimmed that pink and red ledger card down so that it fit the 3x4. And I don't want her dress to not be white. So I put her on a white cardstock and then just fussy cut and gave her a little bit of a white border just so it popped off, because otherwise the dark color from underneath would really saturate through the sticker paper and it just wouldn't have the same bold look. And something that I didn't anticipate here was that I still had to punch holes in the bottom of this card. And so thankfully it doesn't cut off anything too terribly important. But I used a piece of sticker paper that was washi tape from one of an Illustrated Faith kit. It just is like typewriter letters, and it was the same kind of like a darker pink hue. So it blends in, but it's not what makes the statement. And then I'm just journaling a little bit about my mom taking me to the stationery store when I was young, and I loved office supply stores more than toy stores. Here I still haven't realized that I have to punch holes, and so I do some stamping here at the bottom, and I stamp, not what I'm holding in my hand right now, a stamp that says "My Happy," and when I punch the holes, it ends up cutting off the "my" part, which is fine. It's totally fine. And this is right about the point where I realize I have to punch holes. And I'm like, dang it. What did I do? But it's okay. We just are going to punch and see where it ends up. And it's not so bad. So it just says happy. And I'm moving on. So I've got, let's see, no photo underneath here. So I think I'm going to start removing a couple of papers and cards that I might not really need. Or no, right now I'm actually going to just make a little cluster. This is apparently what we're going to do. Oh yeah, I did remove that tab. And this clear sticker is actually from Susanna's guest set at Illustrative Faith. I didn't want those letters to show through, and I thought that it would be okay to just white them out, but I ended up putting this on cardstock to cover them up. It's just not the message that I wanted for this particular page, and that's okay. But it's a picture of her and I, and so I thought it would be cool to use her little messy, well, the set is called Messy, so her little messy circles. So I think I layer a couple other things, or I try to. This one was a little bit of a struggle for me just because the element itself has a lot of things to it, has a lot of movement, and I couldn't really find my bearings as far as what could go on top or what could be layered. I start looking at a couple of Crafty-like elements. I end up removing that rainbow because it just ended up not really feeling right after a while. But on this photo, I'm going to do our name, Susan Dre. It's nice that our nicknames are short, so I don't have to use tons of letters anytime I need to write our names. But these stickers do stick really nicely to my photo paper, which means I couldn't move that S down, but it's all good. The R and the E are a little high too, so it adds to the whimsy. So yeah, I'm kind of just fussing and figuring out what else I might be able to do. That's all. There's a couple things I am going to remove, just feeling like they might not be necessary right now. I did keep their business card. I definitely wanted that to be part of the whole entire album. I'm not sure when I do this, but I will staple something to it to kind of give it a little bit of fun. So now I'm going to work on this Totally Obsessed stationery card. And I really want to utilize the colors that are coming from those pens because you will be able to see those pens and this card at the same time. So I'm looking for like dark teals and kind of dark pinks, but things are kind of clashing with that darker red color. So I'm just trying to figure it out. And I've found this neutral-ish floral that had some of the green colors. And I'm going to use a couple of like circle elements and just some other things to kind of layer so that the ampersand and the floral aren't competing. Because right now they're competing. They're too busy and you're seeing the busyness through the ampersand as well. So I've got like this little hexie and a circle. So now what it does is it pulls a couple of solid pieces to kind of let that ampersand rest on, and then it doesn't feel as busy. Yeah, that works because then you've pulled the color in and added a couple of things for just so that not everything is so busy. Okay, I think here I'm going to do another stitch on that tab. I think that's why I've walked away. Yes. it needed a little something. Oh yes, so now I get a little felty heart and I just staple it right there to the top. So now I'm just going through it and seeing how else I can kind of just finish it off. I definitely want to use a stamped sentiment on that tab. Since this is the cover, I want it to be something that, you know, makes sense about how we felt while we were there, and that it was just so gorgeous. So cute in there. They do sell things online, so just because they aren't open right now due to the pandemic, they do sell things online, and I love their task pads and notebooks. So such a good shop. I will leave their link below. So I'm just going to reassemble this, and then I'm going to give you guys some close-ups. And then during the close-up, I'm going to realize that I didn't glue a couple of things together. So we're going to roll with it. So it just says, "This is my happy." And it really was. It was truly like, almost like that feeling when you walk into IKEA for the very first time and you're just like, oh my gosh, everything's so gorgeous. So here we just have all of the pages that we just finished, lots of different clustering and layering elements that you guys can take and use in your projects. I really hope that this was something you enjoyed, that you got something out of this. And thank you guys so much for being here. I love that you guys are part of the crew. I'm so glad that we get to hang together in the Facebook group, and that you guys are my girls for getting the magazine first. And I really do love that you guys help support all the creativity that I get to share with you. So thank you guys for being here. Talk to you really soon. Bye.